Good morning. It is good to see all of you online today. I'm Karin Landsberg with the OUUC Tech team. I use she, her pronouns. Welcome to all who are joining us on whatever platform you're using. This Zoom service is being recorded and it is streaming live to YouTube. We are leading the worship service from several locations today, so you'll see the service move back and forth between us. Most of our sharing happens in the Zoom chat box, which is not posted or shared publicly. We use the chat feature for greetings, song lyrics, affirmations and applause, and items shared from the heart. It is not a good format for critique or conversation, especially back and forth debate. Please save your comments for the coffee chat, or feel free to contact Reverend Mary at minister@ouuc.org. We will be turning the chat on and off during the service today. We have also enabled the automated closed captioning for those of you who would like to use it. It's easy enough to alter your settings. Find the CC button at the bottom of your screen and click it to see options. You can hide subtitles or click subtitle settings to change the text size. This feature is imperfect, especially during hymns, especially with translating song lyrics. Feel free to hide subtitles during hymns if they are distracting. We can expect some tech glitches as we continue to do all we can to optimize our connections. If you experience any technical issues during the service, you can reach out to Joe Celine or another member of the tech team for assistance when the chat is on. We appreciate the grace as we all remember it is about connection, not perfection. Last, I hope you will find a candle or chalice. In a moment, we can light them together. Thank you for your grace and adaptability as we all learn together.
Good morning. Let's sing together hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. We're only going to do the first and the fourth verse, the first and the fourth verse.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist online worship service. The OUUC community comes together in the promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. We are glad you are here. My name is Ann Colbury, and I am a member of the worship arts team. I use she, her pronouns. Leading worship today are Reverend Mary Geer, our minister, Sarah Lewis, our director of community, faith, and development, and Troy Fisher, our music director. We give thanks to both our tech team and our OUUC media specialist, Joe Saline, for providing technical support, and to Darlene Sarkala, our administrator, for keeping us informed and connected. Thank you to the choir members in the Commons with Troy who are helping us sing this morning. Thanks also to the breakout room hosts who offer hospitality. We are grateful for the many hands helping to make worship happen this morning. We welcome each of you to this congregation and today's celebration of love and wonder. You are also invited to stay online after the service for a virtual coffee chat, a chance to meet with a small group to say hello and check in. Each breakout room will have a host to help make sure everyone knows each other and has a chance to share. Reverend Mary will offer reflection questions to get the conversation started. We hope you'll stay. I want to draw your attention to the order of service, which includes our announcements available on the website. This Thursday at 7 p.m., plan to join Reverend Mary, Sarah, and Troy for an exploration of the June spiritual theme of play. What a fitting theme as we head into summer. It will be our final evening spiritual practice until fall. Please know that you can find recordings of many of past Thursday evening spiritual practice offerings on the OUUC website. Next Sunday will be a busy day. At 10 a.m., we'll enjoy a music service, Music is Storytelling, offered by music director Troy Fisher, the OUUC choir, congregational soloists, and guest musicians. Music has incredible power to change a person. At 1:30, Reverend Mary and Sarah will gather with the 8th Principal Organizing Group for a second meeting. If you haven't yet joined that group and are interested, please contact Reverend Mary or Sarah Lewis for meeting information. Finally, please plan to come by OUUC next Sunday from 3:30 to 4:30 for an ice cream social. The OUUC Board of Trustees wants to thank you all for participating in crafting our new vision, mission, and ends. There will be ice cream bars. There will be fun. There will be people in person. We hope to see you there. Please check the website regularly. There are several opportunities to stay connected to our community because social distancing does not mean social isolation. If you have questions or need help, please check in with a staff member. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations worldwide in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together with these words by Nicole McKay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to mourn and grieve with one another all of our losses, the people, the stories, the loved ones, and the futures that could have been. We gather to do the hard work of facing the difficult realities of our present and our past where there is conflict, violence, war, and hatred. We gather to hold space for silence as we try to make meaning of our history to help us work for peace and justice today. We gather to rekindle our source of hope for our future by recognizing in one another our shared humanity as we join in a concerted commitment for a better tomorrow. We gather because we need community to do all of this holy work.
Good morning. Our opening words this morning are offered by Heather K. Janulis, titled, Called by Loss, Called by Peace. We come this day called by war, by the suffering we inflict and endure when minds across borders fail to reason and compromise. We come this day called by loss, the deaths of those who serve in our name, those whose lives end before their natural course in service to a cause greater than their own. We come this day called by hope, hope that we will in some season finally surrender our swords for plowshares. And we come this day called by peace. May we hear its song. May we proclaim its promise. May our remembrance today renew our strength. We can never stay or rest. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together hymn number 161, Peace, the Perfect Word.
Thousands of years ago in Capilano Canyon, there lived a Tyee or tribal chief who had two lovely daughters who would come to womanhood in the same spring. To celebrate his daughters, the Tyee planned a feast such as the coast had never seen before. Why, there would be food enough for everyone who would come from far away with gifts to give and gifts to receive. Hospitality would reign as long as feet could dance and lips could smile. The only thing that cast a shadow on all of this joy was war. You see, the people of the Tyee had been at war for centuries, it seemed, with the people of the northern tribe. War canoes went up and down the coast. War songs disturbed the silence of the night. Strife, hatred, vengeance, all around. But the Tyee had been victorious in all recent encounters and could well afford to take a few weeks to celebrate his daughters. Why would the enemy cause him to give up on the traditions of his household? Never. And so the feast was planned. 7 sons before the feast, the daughters came to their father. "Father, we would beg a favor of you," they said. "Why, my lovely daughters, with the eyes of April and the heart of June, on this day you can have whatever you wish. The favor is yours before you even ask it," he replied. "We would have you invite the hostile tribe of the north," the daughters said. "What?" the Tyee exclaimed. "To a peaceful feast? A feast in the honor of woman?" "Yes, father," the girls replied. And so, to honor the wishes of his daughters, the Tyee sent messengers up to light fires on the headlands of the coast, to invite the northern tribe to the feast, to guarantee them peace when they came. When the northern tribe heard this invitation, they flocked down the coast with their canoes no longer full of war weapons, but now full of beads and fish and grain and woven blankets and other gifts to bring to the Tyee, all of which they laid at his feet when they arrived. And in his turn, the Tyee threw a potlatch such as never had been seen before, with gifts for all, with wonderful feasting. The songs of war were replaced by the shuffling feet of dancers, the songs of women, and the cries of happy children. And a bond of brotherhood was built between the two tribes, never to be at war again. The Great Spirit smiled down at the people and at the sisters. Why, they have given birth to 2 children, brotherhood and peace, such as we have never seen before. And for this, I will lift them up to a high place, the Great Spirit said. And so the daughters were lifted up to become the 2 sisters. They stand still and will for thousands of years more, guarding the peace of the Pacific coast and the quiet of Capilano Canyon. Thus ends our story.
We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to hold all that we bring here with us this morning. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the online worship page on the OUUC website, or just send me an email and we'll bring it into the service next week. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, and what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life, our own and others. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat and together we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, I invite us to take a breath together, in and out, as we open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community today. I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat box on your screen. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is carried in your heart and shared from your heart. As we take in what is posted, let us hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to those who share. I place a stone in the water for all that has been shared and is being shared from the heart. A stone holding the complexity of our lives, placed in the water of community. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken this morning. On this Memorial Day, let's take a moment to remember our ancestors and those who have gone before us. This is a time now for us to remember together. And as we remember, we'll say these words together. We light this candle. I invite you now to say those words with me. We light this candle. We light this candle in recognition of the enormity of this pandemic's impact on each of us, on those we love, on everyone around the world. Take just a moment now to recognize the impact on you and those you love. I invite you to say with me now, we light this candle. In awareness of the disproportional impact of this virus on those already challenged by poverty, racism, transphobia, ableism, xenophobia, and more. Take just a moment to recognize the impact on those kept on the margins, who may be you. Let's say together, we light this candle. To send our love to all of those grieving loved ones lost due to COVID-19. I invite you to say the names of those lost that you know. You can say the names to yourself out loud wherever you are, or place them in the chat. We'll pause for just a moment. Let's say together again, we light this candle. To honor those who have died in conflicts and wars, past and present, civilians and military. Take a moment to remember those who have died and the places past and present that have been impacted by war. Let's say together, we light this candle. In honor of those that we have lost in the past 15 months in our OUUC community. It is a long list. Here are their names. Rob Radford, Billy Williams, Robin Williams, Dorothy Mahaffey, Tom Joldersma, Bernie Steckler, Mark Witcher, Pete Spiller, Brad Gupta, Charlie Keck, Barbara Moore, Bob Sundstrom. We'll pause just a moment in their memory. And let's say together, we light this candle. To send our love to all those grieving deaths of all causes. Many of us have lost loved ones this last year for many reasons. I invite you now to say the names of those you've lost, and of those you know who are grieving. You can say the names out loud or place them in the chat as we pause for just a moment. And one last time we say together, we light this candle. We light this candle in grief, in honor, in recognition, and most of all, in love. I invite you now to join me in the spirit of prayer. Infinite web of life, spirit of love, great mystery from which we come and to which we return. We gather in thanksgiving and in anguish, in honor and in grief, for those who have gone before us, our ancestors, our loved ones, those who died in war, those who died too young. We hear their cry, no more, never again, remember me. Give us courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain and of our pain. Give us the courage to remember them and to make the world as they would wish it, a world built on the peace that comes from justice. Give us the courage to create that peace. May we be so. Let's close our prayer and open our hearts with a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together by the waters of Babylon. We'll sing it all together once, then we'll break into a round. By the waters, the
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to do something greater than ourselves. This offering does two things. It supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by our regular pledges. It also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. For the months of May and June, our Share the Plate recipient is Quixote Communities, an organization working to provide permanent and supportive housing for those experiencing homelessness. Quixote Communities create and manage tiny home villages that foster community, encourage personal growth, and promote access to the care and services residents need. Residents have asked for mental health services to be provided on site. Quixote Communities are working to provide these services. Please note that you can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website, or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You could also mail a check to OUUC. Our community partners continue to need our financial support. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
1, 2, 3,
And they stand against the lightning and the thunder, and they shelter and protect us from above. And they fill us with the power and the wonder of their love. And this is why we tell the story. 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 If you listen every heart, you'll hear them call us to come share with them our laughter and our tears. And as mysteries and miracles befall us through the years, we tell the story. We tell the story. Life is why. We tell the story. Pain is why. We tell the story.
Thank you for your generous gifts. Today's reading is The Last Soldier by David M. Horst. I saw the parade pass by with the last soldier marching. I saw politicians stand by, not in pride, but in shame as they recited the names of the dead and admitted their failure. I saw the marching band step in time to silence. No more hymns of glory could they play. I saw mothers and fathers say, no, I will not sacrifice my child on the altar of a nation's pride. I saw flags no longer madly waved, but held in quiet reverence. I saw the granite statues crack and crumble, symbols to the waste of war. I saw the last soldier give his final salute, and the trumpeter play taps one last time. I saw the end of brutality and death. I saw the graveyard flags turned to threads by the ceaseless wind. This ends our reading.
On May 5th, 1868, General John A. Logan, leader of an organization for Northern Civil War veterans, called for a nationwide Day of Remembrance. Logan proclaimed, "The 30th of May, 1868 is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet graveyard, churchyard in the land." Logan called it Decoration Day, and he chose the date of May 30th because it wasn't the anniversary of any particular Civil War battle. On that first Decoration Day, May 30th, 1868, General James Garfield made a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, where 5,000 participants decorated the graves of the 20,000 Civil War veterans, soldiers who were buried there. By the end of the 19th century, Memorial Day ceremonies were being held on May 30th throughout the nation. State legislatures passed proclamations designating the Day of Remembrance, and the Army and Navy adopted regulations for proper observance at their facilities. After World War I, the day was expanded to honor those who have died in all American wars. In 1971, Memorial Day was declared a national holiday by an act of Congress and placed on the last Monday in May, creating a 3-day weekend and unofficially marking the beginning of summer. This is one story about the origin of Memorial Day, courtesy of History.com and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Here's another story. During the Civil War, 257 Union soldiers who had been held in a Confederate prison camp in Charleston, South Carolina, died there and were buried in a mass grave. On May 1st, 1865, the Black residents of Charleston organized a May Day festival when they cleaned up the burial ground, enclosed and landscaped the gravesite, and erected an arch declaring the fallen Union soldiers martyrs. Nearly 10,000 people, including 3,000 children from newly formed freedmen schools, gathered to march, sing, and celebrate their freedom. The crowd of citizens was joined by Black clergy, white missionaries, former Union soldiers, and mutual aid societies, each following the ancient custom of bringing flowers to decorate the grave sites of fallen soldiers. Historian David W. Blight describes the day this way. This was the first Memorial Day. African Americans invented Memorial Day in Charleston, South Carolina. What you have there is Black Americans recently freed from slavery announcing to the world with their flowers, their feet, and their songs what the war had been about. What they basically were creating was the Independence Day of a second American Revolution. And Blight goes on to acknowledge that this story did not seem to ignite a movement for a national holiday. This past month of May, we've been exploring the spiritual theme of story. The stories we tell, the stories we believe, the stories we dream, the stories we pass on to next generations. Stories about identity, bodies, creation, possibilities. Stories about the past, the present, and the future. The stories we tell matter. We tell stories, and the stories tell us. As author Terry Pratchett said, change the story, change the world. What is your story of Memorial Day? Do you remember those who were killed in war or who died serving in the military? Do you remember those who have died? Is it your unofficial start of summer? This Memorial Day weekend, my family in Michigan will do what they have done for more than 80 years. They will tend the family graves. My mom and her brother and sister, my aunt and uncle, will gather at the cemetery, and one of them will have purchased flowers to plant. They rotate that responsibility each year. It's been the same flowers for 80 years. Red geraniums, white alyssum, and purple ageratum. They will clear away the debris of winter, and they'll plant flowers that will bloom through the summer. Always the same flowers in the same places. And as they clear and dig and plant, they will tell stories and remember. They'll tell of their childhoods, their grandparents, and of large family gatherings. They'll tell of their parents, my grandfather, who worked hard in the foundry, bringing his family into the middle class and who died young. They'll tell of my grandmother, who loved to tell jokes, especially bawdy ones, and who had a wonderful laugh, that distinctive high cackle that I hear in my mother's laughter and my husband says he hears in mine. They will tell stories of those who served in the military and those who have died, now including some of their generation and younger. They will tell stories, laugh, cry, pray, and remember, keeping the stories and the people alive. They will tend the graves and they will tend the memories. And they will look to the future, telling stories of their children, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren. They will connect the past to the future. In our nation this weekend, we tell stories of those who have died in service to our country. We tend to tell stories of war. I despair that we continue to tell the story that supporting our troops means supporting war. I know from my own story and the stories of my family that supporting the troops means supporting peace. We continue to learn over and over that marching for peace can also mean supporting the people who serve in the military, who serve as a part of their family history, out of a sense of duty, or as a way out of poverty. It is often the stories of heroism, of action, that we honor on Memorial Day. And there are many stories of bravery, courage, compassion, and kindness in times of war. What if we were to tell stories that tell another truth about war? That it is brutal, terrifying, and violent. What if we were to tell stories of the heroism and courage of nonviolent resistance? Stories about the courage of Mahatma Gandhi, of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and others who face violence with nonviolence. In his 5 principles of nonviolence, Dr. King wrote, quote, "Nonviolent resistance means neither cowardice nor passivity. Nonviolent resistors are not cowards, but strong individuals. It takes strength to resist the use of violence. The method is passive physically, but strongly active spiritually. It is not passive non-resistance to evil. It is active, nonviolent resistance to evil." Dr. King knew that peace can only come from justice, and we hear that cry in the Black Lives Matter movement today. No justice, no peace. Please do not hear that I'm not in support of honoring those who have died, fighting for freedom and protecting our freedoms. What I am against is glorifying war. I am against denying that we ask those who serve in the military to do immoral things in our name. I am against refusing to acknowledge the injury, mental, physical, spiritual, and moral injury that veterans and active duty people incur on our behalf. I know that the seeds of evil live in each one of us, and that they sometimes erupt in violence. Seeds of greed that cause us to make power grabs and land grabs, that intrude on the rights and property of others, that oppress our fellow humans, denying their humanity. I know there is a need for protection. I also know that conflict is human. Whenever we live with others, whether it's one other or 7 million, there are bound to be different values, priorities, and preferences. Conflict is not a choice, but how we respond to conflict is a choice. We can choose to respond by fighting. It's an instinct that has allowed us to survive and evolve enough to become the species that we are today. We have evolved different parts of our brains now that allow us to choose how we respond to conflict, to negotiate, to mediate, to resist without violence. And that is the spiritual work outlined in our 6th Unitarian Universalist principle. We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Our principles ask us to remember the ancient and modern stories of war, to learn from them, to clarify our values and principles, and to use our deepest spiritual grounding to create the peace that comes from justice. Our principles ask us to create new stories. It is our spiritual grounding that helps us remember that we are called to work for justice, that we can make a moral decision about how to respond to conflict, that we can work for peace within us, among us, and beyond us, that we can create new stories to pass on, stories of bravery and courage, compassion and kindness, all in service of peace. Those who have died have never left. They live on in our memories and stories. This Memorial Day, I invite you to honor and remember, making the connection between the past, the present, and the future. Imagine what is possible in a world of justice and peace. This Memorial Day, create a new story and pass it on. With that fire of imagination in our minds and hearts, let's hold a moment of silence together.
Let's sing together hymn number 1001, Breaths. Listen more often to things than to beats. Listen more often to things than to beats. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors'
Let's extinguish our candles and the chalice together now, and then I'll offer the closing words. These words are offered by Jim McGaw. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.
Let's sing together our unison benediction.